Welcome back to the channel and another edition of Movie Mondays, where we go through some of the movies that I've watched in the last week and I give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down of whether I like the movie or not and whether I think that you would. If you enjoy content like this, please go ahead and comment and like down below. If you don't enjoy it, you can also dislike it. And if you really enjoyed it, go ahead and subscribe. It really does help me to bring more content like this to you, and it would be really appreciated from my side. But in any case, let's continue on with what we have. And the first movie that I'd like to discuss is Vivarium. Now, Vivarium is a 2020 release that was directed by Lorcan Finnegan. It came out all the way in March of 2020 already. It just took me this fucking long to watch it. And it stars Jesse Eisenberg and Imogen Poots, and it's like a science fiction thriller slash, I don't know if horror is a bit of a stretch, but basically, I would imagine that if you look up the term mindfuck in the dictionary, then this movie's poster will be there for you. So it's a really strange one. Basically, this young couple, they're in the market for a house, and so they see this ad for this, gated community, and they go to the fucking offices, and there's a real estate agent there that offers to drive them out to the area there. They go out there, it's all very, photogenic and all looks the same and that sort of thing, and it doesn't immediately appeal to them. They just kind of want to get out of the house because the real estate agent's also like super fucking weird. And then he just disappears, and they end up getting stuck in this, community. Now, I'm not going to say any more than that, but basically the movie's about them dealing with that, being stuck in this community and trying to get out and all of that. And it's really fucking trippy. It's a really strange movie, and it's one of those ones where, like, I felt like I wasn't incredibly captivated by it, but I just needed to know how the fuck it was going to turn out. But at the same time, I suspected that it wasn't going to be anything good. That being said, it was still surprising, and it's definitely a weird one. And if you enjoy these kinds of trippy mind, mess fuck, I think I just created a new genre. But if you like this kind of stuff, then this will be right up your alley. Imogen Poots is, she does her role very well. Jesse Eisenberg is, standard Jesse Eisenberg, if I can put it that way. I really do feel that he has a hard time playing characters any different than what I assume is just his normal personality, but that's fucking in here. But I mean, all in all, I have to give Vivarium like a thumbs up. I would say give it a watch. You'd know 10-15 minutes in if this is for you or not, because it's fucking weird right right off the bat. So, but yeah, give it a watch. I'll give this a thumbs up, and I hope you enjoy it. The second movie is fuck, I don't know where to start with this one. It's a movie by the name of Run, Hide, Fight. So let's get the logistics out of the way first. It is an action thriller, and it's directed by Kyle Rankin, and it came out in January of 2021. It has Thomas Jane in as the father of the protagonist, who is played by Isabel May, and Radha Mitchell is the mother. So that's all the detail. Now, I imagine that the pitch for this somehow went like, guys, it's been like almost 30 years of, has it been? So 1988, 90, yeah, it's been like more than 20 years since Die Hard fucking came out. Is there some way we can revive this and, send like a political message, be like hyper fucking edgy and weird, and, somehow, what if we take Die Hard and we have it happen in a school? Yes, that's what this movie is. So it takes the very difficult topic to discuss of school shootings and basically condenses it into a fucking action movie, where a bunch of students hold the school hostage, and Isabel May's character essentially fucking John McClane's them within the school, fucking with them, messing up their plans and everything. And I mean, it takes this idea and pushes it to the next level, because the main bad guy is so witty, and he's kind of like the fucking Joker, or he's definitely channeling some serious villain vibes there. I mean, this guy's wittier and smarter and just crazier than most of the fiction crazy hyper villains that you get in James Bond movies and things like that. So, I mean, if my only regret is that, you know, I wasn't created with more than 2 fucking hands, because if I could get fucking 4 hands, I could give this 4 thumbs down. It's a terrible movie. It's really tasteless in the fact that, again, it's one of those things where I don't know why you should be making movies, you know, fictionalizing school shootings and things like that in the first place, because it is such a touchy subject to do something about. And I mean, inevitably you're going to draw the ire of someone. So this is very much like probably trying to send some kind of gun violence messages or something like that. And it's trying to, you know, say that revenge is cool. And I don't know. It's just, it's a fucking really shit movie. I didn't enjoy it at all, and I can honestly tell you that you'd be wasting your time watching it. So, as I mentioned before, not only does this get fucking 1 thumbs down, but this gets 4 thumbs down, and that's Run, Hide, Fight. Great. So then moving from that on to something else is Monster Hunter at number 3 of the 4 movies for this week. It is a science fiction, fantasy, action film, basically by Paul W.S. Anderson, and it's based on a game franchise, you could say, but you know, so there's been many Monster Hunter games. It's a Nintendo franchise, if I'm not mistaken, and obviously the premise of it, the games are that you are a monster hunter and you go out and you have these, you know, epic battles with dragons and whatever the hell that you're trying to slay, and then you set traps for them and this whole thing. And it's a very successful game series, and so naturally they would try to make a movie of it, and naturally it would be fucking Paul W.S. Anderson, who, you know, comes from the whole Resident Evil movies side of it. Now the funny thing here is, not all of them, but some of the earlier Resident Evil movies I actually did enjoy. In a morbid, weird fucking way, because I mean, obviously they were not great at all, but it was because I'm a fan of Resident Evil, and because some of the stuff and, you know, how that translated from the game to the screen was funny and interesting and all of that. And at the very least, it was a movie that you could sit and have a beer and laugh about a bit, and, you know, then forget about it and move the fuck on. I don't have a similar attachment to Monster Hunter, because I'm not a big fan of the game franchise, and as such, you know, I don't really have a vested interest in this being cool or not. But also just Paul W.S. Anderson has got a way of shooting his movies, and just that's become more and more apparent later on in his career as we look at the later, you know, Resident Evils like the last 2, which is just fucking terrible and unenjoyable to me. So this was, in my opinion, a waste of my time. And I mean, even having, you know, Mila Jovovich, who's actually, you know, Paul W.S. Anderson's wife, but also like Ron Perlman. This has Tony Jaa in it, who is like an amazing martial artist and does a lot of his own stunts and everything like that. And it's kind of feels wasted on this fucking movie because of the action choreography being so terrible, and from the looks of it, kind of, you know, like cutting him out of being able to do a lot of his stuff. And so, and a lot of the times he's fighting against people who are obviously not nearly on his level, and so just, you kind of just going like, okay, Tony Jaa, you like really, this is like 5% of what you can do, like what the fuck. So it's a little bit frustrating like that. It's got T.I. in it. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I just thought I'd mention it. Yeah, and it's just, it's one of those weird movies, because if you're making the movie for the fans of the game series, then you have to be sure that they aren't going to look at this and be frustrated. And from what I can tell, they are, because the only thing that this really has in common with the game series is that some of the monsters in this movie look like some of the monsters in the games. So I think that's it. I think other than that, it's fucking terrible. And then the other side of the coin is, if you're trying to get people that aren't fans of the games, that know nothing about the games, to like your movie, then you have to make a good fucking movie that can't just lean on like, oh, that's that fucking monster from the 4th act, and, you know, that sort of thing. So, and that's not this either. So this is unfortunately a fucking thumbs down for me. Monster Hunter, no thank you. And yeah, I kind of at this point in time want Paul W.S. Anderson to stop doing this to games. Luckily, this was a game that I don't love. but 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 yeah, I mean it's crazy that this is so fucking terrible, and it kind of seems like it sets up for more movies like this. And I don't know, man. This is probably gonna make like money, I guess. But yeah, it's only been out for 3 months. It came out in December of 2020, so let's see what happens with it, and if it goes down as some kind of a cult classic in the coming years. I fucking doubt it, but this definitely gets a thumbs down for me. The last one of the 4 movies that we're looking at this week is Tom and Jerry. So this is brand new. It came out on February 26th, so literally a couple of days ago. And it is directed by Tim Story and stars a whole bunch of actors: Chloe Grace Moretz, Michael Pena, Rob Delaney, and obviously Tom and Jerry. So it's a live-action Tom and Jerry full-length movie featuring, Tom and Jerry, the cartoon characters. And in this world, there's this interaction between the cartoon world and the real world, and it's completely normal. So you walk on the street and there's a fucking animated pigeon that flies by and all of that. And yeah, this movie took many years to make. I think it was stuck in development hell for like fucking forever. And now that we finally have it, I just don't see the reason why. It's kind of pointless to me. It's weird how you can, and I grew up with Tom and Jerry cartoons, and I wouldn't call myself like a super fan or anything like that, but there's some of these cartoons that I remember to this day and being genuinely fucking hilarious, like super funny. And I mean, it was always around the weird stuff that the characters were doing to each other and everything. And so obviously a full-length movie has to have that, and it's difficult to build something of an hour and a half of length just centered around that. And most likely the studios obviously realized that, so this has got Tom and Jerry in it, but it's much more about the story of those characters there. And there's this whole subplot of it's the hotel that they're in, and there's a very wealthy family that's or young couple that's getting married there, and all of the fucking shit that happens with that. And it's just, there's a lot of this stuff going on, and that brings me to my second complaint about the movie, past the fact that I just don't see the point of it, is that with movies like this, again, it's the dilemma, right? Because if you're trying to make a movie that parents can put on for their kids, and they can just watch it, and the parents can just like, sip fucking wine for an hour and a half, and they don't have to watch the kids, then I don't think this movie's gonna do it, because it's boring, and the parts with Tom and Jerry doing what they do is very limited to the rest of the movie and the human characters struggling with whatever fucking subplot that they're dealing with. So, and then the subplot that they're dealing with, this is the second dilemma here, is that if you want grown-ups to buy into this movie for some reason and watch this as well, it's also fucking really vapid and stupid and shit and uninteresting and, again, not funny. And it's the basis form of humor, which is like fart jokes and funny sounds and that sort of thing, which, again, I don't mind, but I just don't understand who this movie was made for. Because if it was made for kids, I think they missed the mark. Because the human characters in this are uninteresting, and in some cases actually downright shitty characters. And then the Tom and Jerry dynamic is not seen that much, and the parts that you do see is good, but I just don't think there's enough of that in the runtime of this movie. And then secondly, if this is supposed to be something that grown-ups can watch and also enjoy, then yeah, this is I feel sorry for people that have to sit and watch this and get some form of enjoyment out of it. And I know that I'm being hyper, fucking critical and harsh on this, but it's just strange for me that something like this, that they struggle to make something like this, and then this is what we get. So that's Tom and Jerry. I don't see the point of it, and as you can guess, then that obviously means that this gets a big old fucking thumbs down. And I really do think that you are better off spending that hour and a half somewhere else. Luckily, there's tons of other better movies out recently in the animated, genre that you can watch with your kids and that you can put on for your kids that is better than this. and that you might enjoy as well. So yeah, but that's it. So those are the 4 movies from last week that I watched, and unfortunately it seems like most of them were like really terrible, but that's the luck of the draw. Last week we had 4 thumbs up, this week not so much. Then, as usual for this series, I do want to look at a movie that I generally consider a classic. This week's classic will be Deja Vu, which is the Tony Scott directed science fiction action movie from 2006, and it stars Denzel Washington. It's got Val Kilmer in it. It's got Jim Caviezel in it. Adam Goldberg is awesome in it. He's my favorite character in the movie, and then of course Paula Patton is in it as well, and it's basically, so in a nutshell, Denzel Washington's character is a ATF agent that has to solve a bombing, and he is aided by Val Kilmer and his team and some new technology that they essentially developed that allows them to sort of, assist him in capturing, this. And again, if you haven't seen the movie, obviously I don't want to spoil it, but, that's basically the gist of it. Now, huge fan of Tony Scott. Tony Scott obviously being the brother of Ridley Scott, the younger brother who unfortunately succumbed to suicide a bunch of years back. But just some ridiculously good movies under his belt from my childhood that I hold very dear and that I thoroughly enjoyed. Days of Thunder, Top Gun, True Romance, Enemy of the State, Man on Fire, The Last Boy Scout. The list goes on and on. So this is just all good stuff. And this is definitely, while it's not the movie of his that I love the most, that being Last Boy Scout, I thoroughly enjoyed Deja Vu, and it's a classic for me that I've rewatched many, many, many times. Now, the funny thing about this is that actually this movie, the screenwriters, Rocio and I think it's Marcelli or something like that, both of them went on record saying that the movie that they wrote was not what Tony Scott ended up making, and they meant this in a very, very negative way, with I think Rocio actually saying that to this day they've never actually watched Deja Vu. And I believe Tony Scott was also quoted saying that he was unhappy with the way that it turned out, the way that he directed it, and that unfortunately several plot holes are there because of that and that sort of thing. And it's weird for me because is it a perfect movie? No, by no means. But is it Denzel Washington pulling off his best Denzel Washington in this kind of genre? Absolutely. Val Kilmer's great in it. Jim Caviezel's great in it. The story moves on at like a really cool pace. I like the concept of the story that they're trying to tell. And yeah, it's just if you enjoy a Tony Scott movie, then I believe that this is one of the better ones, despite all of that other sentiment. But yeah, that's my classic for this week, and then that also concludes all the movies for this week. And that's basically it. So thank you very much if you watched this all the way up until this point. And I just want to thank you for the support and stopping by. And be sure to join next week when we look at the next batch of videos. But either which way, have a great morning, have a great afternoon, have a great evening, wherever you are. And until next video, cheers.